And honestly, I'm just listening for when God gives me the instruction and blesses me with my next husband. Your next husband.
Baby, because he will give you another one, honey.
Susan, you married to Scott right now. That should be your focus. Why is it that we could trust God, for jobs? We can trust him to watch over and save our kids, heal our bodies. But when it comes to relationships, most importantly, our marriage, we don't believe that he can fix it. Girl, God can fix anything.
That's right.
Welcome back to another episode of Fruit Bearing Conversations. My name is Derek Mullen. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a producer, and I'm the co-host of Fruit Bearing Conversations.
What's up? I am Kyria Willams. I am writer and producer of Fruit Bearing Studios, and this Fruit Bearing Conversations that you're tuned into right now is a spinoff of our parent company. Welcome to Fruit Bearing Conversations.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Trey Williams back at you again, executive producer of Fruit Bearing Studios, as well as Fruit Bearing Conversations, the silent assassin in the building.
Silent assassin. Something about that. Every time you say it, I guess I'm always chime in under that. But hey, if you just tuning in, you just saw a clip from our film, A New Husband for Christmas, because as we finish up this 4-part series of Blurred Lines with the subject title Divorced in the Black is where we at right now. And so that segment that you just watched is going to lead us into this final piece of
Final round.
Brokenness.
Yes.
But before we get into that, if you tune into us for the very first time, we are the filmmakers behind
The Wake Up Call, A New Husband for Christmas, which come from the clip that you just saw. The Company You Keep, and The Gift of Grace, all streaming on Tubi right now, with the exception of our inaugural film, The Wake Up Call, which is streaming exclusively right here on our YouTube channel. If you are listening versus watching, make sure that you jump on over to our YouTube channel and check out The Wake Up Call. But go and make sure you check out our latest film, The Company You Keep, on Tubi.
That's right. So, as we get into this piece of brokenness right now,
As we proceed,
this is
give you
episode
what
112,
you need.
by the way.
Episode 112.
What
yes.
a play is well.
You're silly.
Oh, yes, episode 112 of our current series titled Blurred Lines, subtopic Divorce in the Black Part 4. This is our closeout session. So if you are tuning in for the first time, you definitely want to make sure that you go back and tune in and listen to episodes 109, 110, 111, and you are listening to 112 right now.
Yeah, and if you're married or if you're thinking about getting married, and if you know somebody who's married or somebody who's even thinking about divorce, you might want to get them to plug into these episodes, because I think there's some vital information that
was shared
that you need to share with them, and that I think they can they should better relate to.
Absolutely, because we was able to relate to it.
Yeah. So let's talk about this subject of brokenness, and because what we talked about before when it came to marriage is that there are people who enter this institution broken, and I'm not, and I don't know. I want to say I feel like everybody should be whole.
Yeah.
I think it should be whole. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that, I think what happens is that we forsake the opportunity to share those things that could actually present itself in later on in the marriage. I don't think I'll be honest, I don't think we think about any of those things when we're courting the person that we're with. And then sometimes even when you're courting that person, you see flags. You see some flags that should bring caution.
That's an emergency.
Yeah, that's like, right there. That's an emergency. If you heard the siren, it's like, that's not a true little sound effect. It's
an emergency.
It's an emergency. But if you see flags, that should actually that's letting you know there's some caution. It's not to say that you can't proceed.
Yeah.
It's caution, and I think you have to. And I think that's why it was so vital when we was talking about earlier. I think in the first episode where that counseling is a marriage counseling is very key.
Premarital and during. Yeah.
Premarital and during is key to a thriving, successful marriage.
Amen. Amen.
Yep.
One of the things, one of the sayings that is pretty popular right now, it says broken crayon still color. Have y'all heard that?
Not until today, but thank you for sharing.
Oh my goodness. When I first heard it, I literally lost it, right? Because it has so much meaning to it, right? Broken crayons still color.
They sure do.
Which means that they're still able to be used, right? And a lot of us, myself included, I know that we share God's best, but where we are in today's world, a lot of people are not necessarily walking in that. So we do come into these marriages completely broken. And broken from what? Broken from childhood, broken from past relationships, broken from experiences. You know what I'm saying? And so we show up as that broken person. And we need healing. And that's what this episode is about. Just talking about we're broken, but we can walk purposely towards our healing.
Broken. Some are carrying generational situations. I don't like to use the term curses, but I know what that means. But yes, I'll just say it for what it is. We're broken with generational. We need to break those generational curses. When I say generational curses, I would say the generation of seeing ourselves repeat maybe things that we've seen in our that are not healthy in our past and from our parents' relationships and those parents' relationships, right?
Because that's what they saw.
And that's very prevalent, especially in the black community. Where you have abuse. When you really even think about it, and a lot of this stuff even goes back to in the times when slavery existed and how relationships was conditioned between male and female. So it's unfortunate, and we're breaking those. Don't get me wrong, we're definitely breaking those. But we have to remember that this stuff is something that that's a generation of things that we had to get away from. So, but for some people, some of those curses still are issues, and that's why there's some people that still entering relationships very broken. You was just sharing with me a piece on somebody from a social media standpoint. Not going to name the name or nothing like that, but just when we see individuals who go from one relationship and divorce with children, now going into another relationship with somebody else and building that family with more children. We talked about that too in the previous episodes, where you still coming into a situation unhealed, and now you expect this other person to embrace the traumas and the things that you've dealt with, and now we even address their traumas that they possibly may be having as well, and they're carrying that load. So sometimes even for a male trying to even bear the load can eventually break. The bow can actually break. So this is so we haven't dived all the way in yet, but we're just covering the surface area of what brokenness is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You ready to say something?
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I guess people deal with situations differently. But sometimes in the way that you deal with a situation, it may not be the best way to deal with it. Just like even that example that you was just saying, like if you was just in a relationship, and you immediately jump back into another relationship,
that's serious.
That's serious. Well, yes and no. Yes, because I guess the person feels like this is my coping mechanism for me to get out of one thing and hurry up and get back into another thing. But in the same token of doing that, you haven't, just like you were saying, like you haven't really dealt with whatever the issue was that caused you to maybe want to get out this situation and hop back in, because the problem may not have been that other person. The problem may have been you, but your lens, you can't see that. So I think people have to examine like how they deal with certain situations when it's not conducive to how they think it should look.
Right.
Could you imagine, think about this. Look at it like this. Think about a fracture on your bone. And let's say you playing sports. and you have a fracture, but you continue to play anyway. And so now you play the game hurt.
Yeah.
You playing the game hurt till eventually that bone's gonna break.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is you're going back into the game without actually taking the time off to heal. That's what we're talking about. Like you're fractured right now.
Yeah.
You know, I like the point, but you're a broken crayon. You can still color.
Yeah.
But we need to shape that. You know, we need to get that. We need to fix that. We need to fix what's broken. And I think that's the part where we into when we talk about these relationships.
Yeah.
So when I looked at Divorce in the Black, it was obvious that, again, the husband, sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, the husband definitely had prior issues going into their marriage. Like, you see in the moment where they do a flashback, he was showing him that actually in that moment he was showing that he seemed like a solid dude. Like but his mama was causing a lot of his issues. Yeah. So what would you say?
Friction.
Yeah, the mom was causing a lot of friction, but the mom was causing a lot of his issues. She was a source to some of the problems. So what I'm saying is that her brokenness is spilling over to his relationship, which now it's killed his relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So what I'm saying is that's why we got to fix these things. I don't want to keep telling those stories. But those stories are important because they're real.
Right. But let's get to a resolution in those stories.
We need a resolution. But again, so what would happen if, she's seeing that, okay, he's coming from a place of, that brokenness. She's witnessing. We all saw it. We witnessed that he was having problems with his mom. So in that, where the wife could have, I'm thinking about if they're dating at the time, but let's just say the wife, like, let's get some therapy.
Yeah.
Let's see what you may need, something else that's going to help peel back the layers so you can expose, what's really been hiding all this time, so that you can address it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can honestly, this is a topic that we can speak on very confidently, and what I mean by that is when, at the beginning of our marriage, I came into our marriage very unhealed from trauma, very unhealed from past relationships, in that matter. And what I want to say is that it is not our spouse's responsibility to come along and get us through this, right? It's not their responsibility. But if you are with a person, and one thing, what happened with us is it was Trey demonstrated true love, right? Real love. He didn't dismiss me, but what he did was help me, right? So I see past how you're showing up, because of course, for those that don't know, we've been knowing each other for years, right? So I'm seeing past how you're showing up. And so when I tried to come with him talking in the, how I usually talk and how I usually handle arguments and all of that, he pretty much wasn't a type of person to go back with me, right? Like if I'm going there, then previously if I'm in relationships, they going back with me and it's going crazy, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the first time that I had literally been with a person that handled me with care, right? Handle me with care. I like that. Handle me with the love of God, because I was a little off the chain, and it's only because that's why they say, the power, death and life is in the power of the tongue, right? Because that tongue is serious and it can do some damage or can restore, right? And I could damage, all right? Yeah. And so I was I just had a way with my talk, the way I used my words and the way that I stood up for myself. And when I just felt like that, I was just in this protection mode of, you not gonna say this to me. Or even if he was saying certain things, it was if I wasn't seeing it for what he was doing, I was only seeing it from my experiences prior, right? And so just to know that a person can overcome that brokenness and overcome how they show up in the beginning, but you just have to be willing to understand that sometimes your spouse is there to help you through that process, and we have to be okay with hearkening to that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tongue is very serious when you think about how you react to situations, and not to get off the broken piece, but because people are coming from a broken place, that is kind of like their reaction. Like I've seen I see when someone rescues a dog that's in the wild, and the first time the dog is encountered, the dog is just like, it's like it's in attack mode because that's all it knows.
Wow.
And so
That's all I knew.
it takes time. So when the owner, when the new owner is coming in, they're trying to really take the time to coax the dog. They actually have the mind to put a muzzle on the dog for the time being, right? Put a muzzle on the dog, and like because at this point this dog could bite at any moment. But until they took the time to show the dog that, hey, I'm here to protect you. I'm giving you affection. I'm feeding you. I'm your source. I'm your protection right now. Then the dog, you can take the muzzle off. Now the dog's not trying to bite the person at random. And then the dog, and not to compare everybody, but I'm using it as a metaphor, an analogy in a way.
Yeah, because I'm starting to feel like you calling me a dog. no, I'm kidding, but it's a great.
A wild dog. But I'm just saying that it's like that. I try to show those examples so that someone, I'm trying to break it down like you're a 3-year-old sometimes, because sometimes, man, you gotta. And I say it because there's people walking around in relationships right now and not understanding, like y'all. When I say y'all, I'm saying y'all because we sit here and think that like we can't dumb things down so we can understand. We have to, because you got to break this thing down, because do you understand? You're causing, sometimes that mouth is causing more harm than good. You have a sharp tongue. Yeah. And then if a person speaks against that, that doesn't mean they're a weak person. They're trying to tell you, hey, I don't really like what you said to me, and I don't like to be taught that way. Yeah. You just weak.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I say there's a lot of different even layers within this subject matter right now. Yeah. But some people, because of what they've been used to in the past, are trying to love that way. And that's not the way you're not gonna get nothing from that.
Yeah.
You can't love nobody that way. If you're broken, you gotta fix that.
Absolutely. And I believe that's one thing that was happening in the beginning stages of our marriage too. I started going to a new church. I started, feeding myself more spiritually. I started just seeing how he showed up in this world as a true believer, right? And how I was showing up in the world as a churchgoer. I was just going to church. But when I left church, I was just still doing whatever I wanted to do. So I wasn't surrendered. He was more surrendered. And so just to watch somebody to demonstrate God's true love, it was just like, wow. Like in the beginning, you feel like that this person is attacking you because this is all you know. And, you feel like this person may be down on you or may look down on you because, maybe they feel like they have it together and you don't. And so all those thoughts start running through your head. It's like, who you think you talking to, and you ain't better than me. And you go through that. But then you realize, like you said, it's a wild dog, it's just a wild person. And it's like, no, I have to, do that. But the thing is, that's why I said in the beginning, but that was not his responsibility. I should have came into it already, this person, but I wasn't. And sometimes if you're in a relationship and you're going into it, you're not completely whole yet. It will be the perfect scenario to come into it whole.
Yeah.
But let's be real, majority of the time, we're not coming into these relationships whole.
Got a couple things on that, too. It was, matter of fact, it's something I just recently encountered. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is that when I say recently encountered, I received an email that I didn't like. Yeah. And what I encountered is that, because people, again, but this goes back to me understanding that some people are broken. Some people don't know how to communicate effectively. Again, they have to check their heart posture. Yeah. Right. But that's why sometimes the thing that we can control is how we respond to it.
That's right.
So again, 10% is what happens to you. But 90% is really how you respond to that thing.
98% is how you respond.
98. Okay, so 2% is what happened to you.
2%. 98% is.
Let me know what your data, where that data came from. But you get the picture of what we're saying. Yeah. So a lot of it is how we respond. Like you were saying before, Trey could have responded.
Yes.
The same way you did, but where would that have gotten you? We probably wouldn't be sitting here having fruit bear conversations today. Yeah. You would have messed up my money. Wouldn't have had nothing to show for it.
Nah, but even looking into this, like what she was talking about, like it just caused me to think back over my life on like just certain situations just growing up, because like we have this running joke, like me and her, we call it I call it September babies. Cause she a September baby, my dad was a September baby, and there's like certain traits that I see in her, like I kind of see that my dad had, and like some of the things that I saw when I was growing up, and I think God was just even working on me in that. It's like my dad, he was the type of person, he was like real, like I would say, I don't know how to quite say it, but just say it like he had a mouth on him, more or less. I say, like my dad, he was the type of person like he'll curse you out in a minute.
Yeah.
And it's like me growing up as a kid, it's like that part of like my dad relationship with us is like I hated that part of our relationship because I never liked that feeling of him talking to like my mom and like even us. Like it's just really, that's just the way that he communicated, because I guess, like they say, people do what they say, and that's how he was. So even like me growing up, I think God was working on my heart, saying, son, like you don't have to be that way if you don't want to be that way. It's like, but you have to make a conscious effort to not do that. And I think that kind of helped me out a lot, like in my walk as I grown up, because I seen like a lot of things that I seen my dad do. Like I try not to emulate those things, but I only can do that through the power of Christ that work in me to help me not do those things.
That's right.
Because if it was left up to me, like I can go there in a minute, like just like she can go there, I can go there, but I gotta have something inside of me that say, hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times, like people may get it confused thinking that just because you reserved or or laid back, like some people can take that as weakness, but you have to realize like it take a lot of strength to not go back to somebody and be ignorant the way they being ignorant.
You calling me ignorant?
No, I'm not calling you.
No, but and I'm so happy that you say that too, because I was that person. No.
Yeah, she's been a little ignorant. Been a little ignorant.
I was that person that saw weakness, right? I felt like, the way that he will respond was weak, right? But when I really started to grow and understand, that is strength that everybody desires, or we should desire. A person that can control their emotions, that's a person of strength.
Yeah.
And that's a person that has allowed God to really do a work on their heart, because majority of us operate out of the flesh and we want to respond the way that a person is responding. The way I was clowning, he truly got some strength, okay? And it's like, and I mean, we can go really deep into a lot of things that he dealt with in the very beginning, but I tell you right now, I am sitting next to one of the strongest men in the United States of America, okay? What was it? It was a saying, strength under control or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
When y'all start bringing these saying, please make sure y'all know it. You know
Right.
I'm like, everybody, if y'all hanging like I'm like, what they about to say? And then you don't say it, you be like, what you bring it up for then?
Remember, shut up, Derek.
Okay.
No, but it's just like but honestly, what I'm saying is that a person that, and I've seen that in you, honestly, you know what I'm saying? Like we had a situation when we were filming The Company You Keep. Mm-hmm. And the gentleman that came around the corner, when we were in the street on the south side and we were filming over there, and he came around that corner, I guess you kind of turned in front of him or something, and he like went off in the way that you handled that. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to, but go ahead.
I know. I want you to remember. So we were filming at the house that we used for Daniel and Cynthia. I mean, wait a minute. What's their name?
Your characters mixed with Daniel and Elise.
Daniel and Elise, right? We were the house that we used for Daniel and Elise.
Okay.
We were over there, and you were coming out, and you turned in front of a guy or something. And
oh yeah. Now I remember that. I remember that now. Yeah.
And the way that you handled that, that's a person of strength. But guess what? Somebody would have thought that was weak of you, right? Yeah. But it's like, no, it's like when you can control your emotions and not put yourself in danger because you're trying to, prove a point that I'm a man because you're in a man box. you know?
Girl, all right, okay. Shout out to a call to men. Okay, you heard her.
Yeah, and so it's like being strong in situations like that is what everybody should desire.
Yeah, no, I was, and I'll say that too because that's why I say a lot of what's so important about everything that we're talking about from I'm just saying from this particular segment, that we started, from the first episode to this, it goes back to our spiritual growth.
Yeah.
It's all about our spiritual growth because I remember when I was growing up, I was 15 when I first really started following, Christ and wanting to be better in that space. And I remember
You fell off.
Boy, see, someone's always there to remind you of what you. What we talked about before? What we just say?
Leave, devil.
I was like, you're right. What we just say? I'm gonna need you to go back to episode. I'm gonna go back to episode 111, please. No, seriously. When I read about being slow to, slow to anger and slow to respond, you know what I mean? Like it's like you like that.
It's biblical.
That sinks in. Like like, hey, be slow to anger. Be slow to anger. Like we were talking about something earlier. I was just like, I can do that in front of y'all, but it's still my response is like, okay, how am I gonna react to this thing, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's so important that you have to have this. I think that's why couples should talk. Like you gotta talk.
Yeah.
And when you do talk, if someone shares something with you, don't judge them. Don't be judgmental in that moment. This is a moment where people are being vulnerable. They're trying to be their authentic selves.
Yeah. They have gotten naked before you.
I remember, and I like this. I'm gonna get this from Tony Porter, but he's always talking about there's a difference between being your role self versus your whole self. Mm-hmm. And I every time he said it, I think that's just so real. Like our role self, I can play the role.
Yeah, who we portray to be.
I can portray what you need me to be, but what's your whole self?
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. Yeah. And that's when we talk about this area of brokenness. Mm-hmm. That's why you have to peel back the layers on the onion so you can really get to the root cause of the situation. Because when you can address it, you can there's a better way to move forward in that.
And then talking about that, like in relationship wise, it's like you have to come to a realization of are you really prepared for somebody to show you who they really are? And when they show you who they really are you prepared to deal with it?
To accept it.
Yeah, or to accept it. Because if they show you who they really are and you don't like it, the question is, how are you going to respond to that?
If you already married.
Yeah.
Yeah, because prior to marriage, if they show you who they really are and you don't like it, you don't have to enter the institution.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, again, that goes back to, are you giving me your role self, or am I seeing your whole self?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And again, we talked about this early on the last episode, where like a lot of people just trying to give you their representative.
Yeah.
And we gotta stop that. Like that's what's hurting the situation as well. Mm-hmm. So then you still enter the relationship because they never saw who you really truly are. Then you want to let your guard down and say, okay, finally, now you want to take the wig off. Hey, this is who I am.
And the lashes and out but no, I heard a person say before that, I heard a person say before, you shouldn't get into a marriage with anyone until you have seen how they handle their anger.
Yeah.
Good. Until you have seen a person in an angry situation, because you don't know how that person is going to show up, and it may scare you, right? And you didn't know that, and so because you only dated and you didn't really go through. I know a lot of couples, they may get into a marriage and they meet, maybe, they say I met in February and we got married in March, And
they're still thriving today, but that's far and few in between.
Far and few.
That's an anomaly. That's a unicorn.
Yeah. So it's like, no yeah. So you gotta get a little bit of experience with this person.
Not sexual experience either.
Not sexual experience. Everybody's talking about they got a
test experience. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
I rebuke you that in the name of
Jesus. Get off our show. You ain't necessarily got to test drive.
You don't have to test drive. It all worked the same. It all worked the same. That's it. So, and that's, I hear, Christian women saying that they have to test drive. that I have to test drive this. This is not something that I can, and it's like, come on, like.
It's only because that's the world.
And it's your natural, it's your flesh talking, because of course, once you go into that, space, that's a benefit of God. That's a beautiful, benefit. That's something that God created, and the intimacy in that is just so beautiful, to the point it's like God created this, and so it's like an addiction sometimes, and so with the flesh, you want that, so why play in that territory?
But that even go back to one of our previous episodes where we was talking about that. Like, once you open that door up, you just let something in, or just attach something to yourself that you don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
You thinking everything is okay, but you don't really know if everything is okay until maybe on down the line
it's showing up.
Come out. It show up.
I got a better way to do it. I can't help it when they come to me like that. It's like I ran to say it. All right, so no. To your point about we very open when it comes to like, hey, I'm gonna have sex with you, right before marriage and all, right. I'm gonna switch around. Would you give that very same person access to your bank account? That might be somebody might be like, I sure would, but
no, they
most
wouldn't.
people
won't. I promise you. I'm speaking from natural right now. I'll have sex with you before I give you access to my bank account.
But on your point, you want to know why most people probably won't give people access to their bank account?
Go ahead.
Because they in the red. They overdraft on it.
Ooh, Trey, that was good. That was good. They
overdraft on it. And I think a lot of times we are overdraft in our spiritual bank account, and we don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. We don't even realize it.
Yeah, we in the red.
Yeah. You done gave so much of yourself away.
If y'all ain't shout on that one, I'm ready to shout on that. But you said something right there. Say that again, Trey. I know y'all can rewind it, but say it again.
I'm just saying, a lot of times we in the red with our spiritual bank account, and we don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. Like, we done gave so much of ourselves and so many parts of ourselves away free that we just in the red. And now we got to try to build our bank account back up.
Yeah. Bruh, that was powerful. Seriously. That's powerful.
Broke.
Man, we getting the podcast right now. Go ahead and press out. No, but for real.
$ cash out Fruitberry Studios.
Yeah, for real. That you said something there that, like, the reason why most people, if they could expose it, they wouldn't let you see it. That's a lot of it. Like, that's what it is. Like, we don't want people to see our whole self.
Authentically, we don't.
Like, let's be honest. It's like, that's what I'm saying. If you was dating somebody and you come in your Sunday's best, and you say, well, let me give you my documents. Here's where I am financially. Here's where I am on my, as far as job, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you put it out there like that, if you really dating based on that, probably a lot of people probably wouldn't. But the sad part about that is that's the thing now, is that we're dating sometimes financial. What's your financial status, and not knowing what your spiritual status is.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Mm-hmm. That's why now I think that's real key, and that's the problem we have now. We're just dating the financial side of things.
We're dating your role self.
Yeah, your role self, and not your whole self.
Yeah,
because we don't know the other side. We don't know how you handle disagreements. Yeah. We don't know how you we don't know how you love your mother.
Exactly. And they say that was a big saying back in the day. How a man treats his mother is how he's going to treat his wife.
Yeah, but that even go back to like what we always talk about, like the principles of God. Like, you can't take out the principles of God and think that everything is going to be hunky-dory, because it's not. I'm telling you, it's not. Like, the principles are the foundation across the board. Mm-hmm. Like, even in dating, like, most people, they date wrong. Mm-hmm. If you ask me. Yeah. Like, they date with the wrong motives, they date with the wrong intentions. And it's like, if you start off a relationship jacked up, what you think gonna happen in the long run? Because you got a bad foundation. Yeah. So if your foundation is bad, what's gonna happen? You're gonna start having leaks. Water gonna start seeping in. It's just like, it's the same thing. Yeah. Like, if you start off dating on a bad foundation, sooner or later, when the rain comes, you gonna see where the cracks at.
Yeah. That's good. That is good.
I mean, it is what it is.
I would even say, even as far as us, like for instance, I'm Mrs. Williams today, but I don't know.
Today?
I mean, I'm saying I stand here proud as
17 years.
Mrs. Williams, but
Ever.
I almost wonder in our dating stages, he was saying things to me that was probably hard to say, but he had the strength to say it. Had I not received that, would there have been a red flag to you? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's like it was some of the things that he was saying. Like for instance, prior to I was I dressed a little provocative at times, and he addressed that. But me, I could have said, "Oh, he jealous." He one of them type of dudes. I could have been that girl that took it that way, which I was in the beginning. Initially, this in my book, I talked about that when he addressed that.
Are you his
Are
really
you
good
really
thing?
his good thing? That's the title of my book. But I shared that story in that book because that was a moment for me that I kind of felt a little embarrassed.
I didn't mean to make you feel embarrassed.
No, and I know you did. I know it wasn't your intentions at all,
Don't
but
apologize now. It worked out for you. Let's that's good. Let us sit with that. Go ahead, finish. Carry on, please.
no, but I did. I felt it. But then as all of these emotions was playing in my head, I felt so protected. You know what I'm saying? I felt like that man that was downstairs waiting on me because I had to literally go change clothes before he took me out. That's a strong.
That's it, but that also takes maturity. That's why I say it. Again, I know you said like it don't take two. But you have to be on the receiving end.
And don't take that out of context when I say that because it definitely depends on the situation.
Yeah,
so
I'm saying like
I need to make sure that I clarify that though when I do say that.
You're good. No, I'm just saying like no because it take you have to be on the receiving end to receive it.
Yeah.
You have to have an open hand.
Yeah.
If your hand's always closed, then you'll never be able to receive anything. But if you have an open hand, you can receive it.
Yeah.
So it takes maturity for that. Because there's and especially when it's coming from a good place.
Yeah. Yeah. I sit here today as Mrs. Williams, proudly.
How many years?
17 years.
17. Y'all heard it right here. 17.
Nah, and even as like from a standpoint from a male perspective. Yeah. Like, I think we have to get to a place where if we feel a certain way about something or if we say something that I guess, I don't know, people may say it's offensive or whatever, but sometimes you're looking out for people's best interest when they don't even see their best interest.
Yeah.
And I know, like, personally as a male and just dealing with, like, certain stuff that I've had to deal with, like sometimes people can take that as like who he think he is or either that aspect or they may even flip it and be like, well, is he gay? They may say some stupid stuff like that. And it's like,
I got that.
No, it's
I
like
see that too.
I get that.
It's like just because I have a certain way that I operate as a male, why does that put me in this box?
Yeah.
And it's like you can't, it's like you have to let, and I try to tell like my kids this same thing. Now, one day they'll get it, and I'm not just dogging my kids at all, but like you have to get to a place where you look at yourself the way God see you. Mm-hmm. When you start looking at yourself the way God see you, then all that other stuff that people say, it'll go null and void. Like it'll be like water rolling off a duck's back as an analogy. It's like even in relationships, like if you and your wife is tight with God and y'all like vibing and y'all got your own thing, it's like you can't worry about what everybody else say on the outside. Right. It's like you have to cultivate that. Mm-hmm. And not saying that it's easy and not saying that, we never go through things or we never have issues. It's just we've made a commitment and we've made a decision to do things God ways to the best of our ability.
That's right.
So
I was gonna say something, but I think if I do, it's gonna incriminate myself.
Go ahead.
Because then the one person gonna say, well, the next person gonna say like, well, you don't do that for me. I'm gonna say it like this. No, I'm gonna say it like this. I'm gonna be real with you. So in my previous relationship, like when going back to like what you said, the things that you would do and people would criticize what you did. I remember in my previous relationship, in my previous marriage, I opened the door every time.
Yeah.
And other people was like, he's just doing that for now. I did it every time.
Yeah.
And there's like, he gonna stop doing that. You know what I'm saying? So people try there in some way, maybe not even on purpose, but some people do it on purpose.
Yeah.
But not maybe unintentionally try to sabotage you.
Yeah.
Do you realize that the things that you're saying to somebody else is the very thing that could probably ruin that person's relationship?
Yeah.
Like the very time that let's say for as an example, the very time that day I don't open the door for her, I told you that he's gonna stop doing that. He's like, dog, you sure did. You know what I'm saying? If that person gave weight to that, then it starts to seep in for every little thing else that could take place. And what I'm saying, sometimes we got to be careful what we say about other people's relationships.
That's right.
Number one, we shouldn't criticize what somebody else does. Like I'll be the first one. I've had this conversation where it says, I can't believe such and such do that. Like, well, that's what they do. That's what makes them work. If that works for them, they keep doing it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Right.
That don't work for you and I, but that works for them.
Yeah.
The thing is, we're always trying to find ways to put on a jacket that don't fit us.
That's right.
That's not your size.
Right.
That's why it drape on you.
Yeah.
And that's why it's too tight on you. It's not your size.
Like they say, people say in the mirror, I wouldn't be dealing with that if I was you. Honey, I wouldn't. Well, we don't realize is that as husband and wife with grace for each other, you're not supposed to deal with him. This is mine. You know what I'm saying? And that is yours. And so people that's saying certain things and what they won't deal with and all that stuff, you're not supposed to, and so we can't allow that type of stuff to, change our mindset on how we see our spouse. And, social media is like a big thing now, right? And so you have these content creators and all these people out there that's showing marriage in a light to where, maybe your husband brought some flowers home and, oh my God, he don't never bring me no flowers. And, but it's like, do you even like flowers? Like even when I remember in the beginning of our dating stages, he would send flowers and things to my job. And I had to literally tell him, like, I'm not a flower girl. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay. Like, and I know that, and that's how women are sometimes, where they just feel like, send me some flowers and send me this and that. Oh my God, he sent you flowers to work. My husband don't never do that. But what is he doing? Did he go put some gas in your car and you got in your car and your tank was filled up? You know what I'm saying? Different things, the way that your spouse may show love differently than what these content creators are showing up as. So don't put your spouse in that comparison box either. For context, I'm gonna give this example for context. I've been married. This is my third marriage, so that's what it is, right? But neither one of them I can tell you I love that. I did not love them the same way. Like what I'm saying is I didn't like you said about the flowers thing. One, loved that they got flowers periodically, and it's funny. I think as I was dating, I tried to do, just because I'm thinking like that's the thing to do. Yeah. I tried to do it, with my other wife, and it's like, I don't like that. Yeah. So then I started realizing like you can't love. People are different. The relationships are totally different. Yeah. And you can't, like you said, like you don't like flowers. Yeah. Like that's not a thing for me. Like that works for that person, but that for me, that ain't my thing. Some chocolate covered strawberries.
Yeah, the other person probably sitting here like, yeah, I like a nice Louis, every time.
Exactly.
So you just got to find ways to love your spouse. I mean, this not that we're talking about this, we're talking about brokenness.
Yeah, but it just went to this, But even
we're talking about brokenness. I'm taking back brokenness because I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that area. No.
But no, even with the 5 love languages, how you mentioned that book on the previous podcast or the one right before that or whatever, but loving your spouse the way that they desire to be loved. That's a big thing. And a lot of times we don't even know our own love languages. And so we're loving our spouse from how we like to be loved, which that's not how our spouse may not like to be loved, So those 5 love languages, I'm telling you, I highly recommend that book or that test or whatever it is, because it really helps you identify who you are.
I say definitely take the test. It was Gary Chapman.
Yeah.
Definitely take the test for 5 love languages. But that's why I say a lot of this stuff that we're talking about right now, you have to be open to it.
You have to be open to it.
You got to be open to it.
For those who have ears to hear.
Those who have
hear.
ear to hear, let them hear. Like, and that's what this is about. Like, that's why I said, I told you, I brought it up with my group, and the men looked at me like I had another eye.
Yeah. But like you said, you have to be open to it. You have to be open to change. You have to be open to grow. And if you realize that you are a broken person, you have to be open to accept that and accept the fact that I need help.
How do we get there? Like, that's why I said, like, I think that's the thing when we sit here and we talk, and I think maybe some people are saying, like, well, I hear you saying all these things, but how do we get there? Like, first I can tell you is to seek some type of wise counsel, some type of therapy, someone that's I think you guys said it best, someone who's from a spiritual aspect, personally, where you are. But wherever you are in your walk and wherever you are, you need to seek wise counsel that can really help you navigate and help you peel back the layers to this. Again, my disclaimer is I don't sit here to speak as a therapist or professional in that space.
Right.
What I am speaking from is my experience and what we can do as believers, as people who are coupled together in marriage, is the practices that we've used to help, further our marriages. So,
And when you are, like you said, how do we get there? When you do realize that you are operating from a broken place, first identify it.
I was just going to say that you got to admit that.
Yeah,
first.
you first identify it. And then secondly, because we are speaking to, married individuals, share it with your spouse, right? Share your brokenness, share why you feel like that you're broken, and then allow your spouse to help you and to hold you accountable in that space, right? Then you have to identify what triggers that emotion that you show up in, right? You have to identify what does she do or what does he do or when does this trigger me, right? And then that's where those professional counselors and those professional therapists come in. That's why I don't identify as a counselor, because I'm a coach.
Right.
I have not did any, well, I did do, a program, whatever, for coaching, but as far as the schooling and all that you have to do for counseling or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, I do feel that I have a gift in that area, which is good, but that's why I just identify as a coach. But what
for technical purposes, you can definitely counsel and coach some people in this space.
Absolutely.
Carry on.
Absolutely.
She is an author. Carry on.
No, but I'm just saying, as far as holding, allowing your spouse to hold you accountable, but then spouse, the spouse that is sharing with the other spouse, right? You also have to be mature enough to not make that person feel bad for sharing that with you. Yeah. And you cannot, when they're having a moment, you cannot, all right, now there you go. Now you said you're trying to work on this. You said, we can't do that.
Baby.
Yeah. We can't do that, so it's like, it's more of a, identifying, okay, you having a moment. You know what I'm saying? You having a moment. Now, of course, this takes strength. Yeah, we can't do this stuff in the natural. Mm-hmm. We have to have the presence of God with us in order to overcome these emotions, because natural emotions will want to take over. But when you're trying to get to a new place and when you're trying to get healed, you have to help each other. That's what marriage is for. It's like you have that person that's like, I should be able to tell this person every single thing that I deal with, everything I struggle with, whatever. I should be able to tell that person that.
Yeah, but I think on both ends, like, you gotta, even from a male's perspective, like, you gotta have like growth. Like, both parties gotta wanna grow in a relationship to make it work out, because, like, just like you were saying, like, somebody could say something, like, you could say something to your spouse, but if they don't really have the heart to even try to take into consideration what that other person is talking about, it's like, that's going to be a roadblock, because it's like, every time I'm trying to share something with you, it's like, you never sitting back looking at it from my perspective. You always looking at it from, well, you talking to me, but I'm not internally digesting it the way that I need to. And that's a growth thing that needs to happen, because I'll be 100% honest with you all. Like, communication is probably like one of the hardest things in the world for me to do. Like, you may say, well, you talking on a podcast. Well, that's different. It's like when you're in a relationship and trying to communicate in a relationship, like that's hard. That's hard as all get up. And I'm not saying it's not doable, but what I'm saying is it's hard.
For
And you
certain
have to
people,
take
for you,
effort.
yeah.
You have to take effort if you really want your relationship to work, to make that work.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna chime in on with you on that because even for me, I think my wife said. I mean, I feel like I do communicate, but it's the way I communicate, right?
Yeah.
And Kyria gets on me on this too. Like so, in my space, I'm just busy. I don't think about a lot of different things. I'm just trying to get to the next thing, trying to get this done, or trying to put this on the calendar, trying to do this, and this, right? But what I fail to do sometimes is even just communicate the fact that, hey, I'm gonna be out of town this week, or I got this coming up, and it's like last minute to me. But sometimes maybe too is that instead of saying that, oh, you don't communicate, maybe we can work together and say, hey, what can we do so I can help? So I guess I'll ask the question like this: what can I do to effectively communicate to you the things that are important to you? Like what am I missing in the communication piece? You know, or for you to say that I don't communicate or I'm having a problem communicating. Because sometimes if we don't address that, then it at least, because just saying like, you don't communicate. Well, I feel like I'm communicating. I mean, I got the stuff on my board. You can come to my office, you can see where I'm going. See, so for me, maybe that's the way I'm trying to communicate, but maybe that doesn't work for that person.
It does not work.
So what I'm saying is that we have to find ways to, again, what is it about communication that I'm not communicating, number one.
Right.
And then how can I effectively communicate to you?
One of them.
So I'm saying, like, just so what I'm saying in relationships, when we have things going on, we're quick to identify the problem, but I don't think we really dig into how we can solve it.
We resolve it, yeah.
Or even sit down and have a conversation like that, like you was just talking about, like, okay, you mad because I may have did this, that, and the other, but how can we talk about this to resolve this issue effectively? Like, even though you may be mad because I did something, how are you going to communicate, or how can the communication become effective is what I would say, because you can communicate all day long, but if it's not effective communication where both people understand what the other person is trying to say, then it's null and void.
Because comprehension is big.
Yeah, because I might feel like I'm communicating, but you may not feel like I'm communicating.
Right, that's what I was saying.
Ooh,
Vice
baby.
versa. You may feel like you communicating, but I may feel like you're not communicating.
One thing that bothers me to my core is if we talking or something or whatever, and just say, he'll be like, well, I got this tomorrow or whatever, right? And I say, well, how come you didn't tell me that?
I just
told you. Woo, baby.
Yeah.
Baby.
Sorry.
That's something that I gotta work on.
I do it too.
Woo.
You know now.
And that is so not communicating.
So, okay, but let me go back to this, and this not to use you guys as the prototype right now, the tool, but to what you said. You said what you didn't like is how he said, like, you know,
I just told you,
right? Mm-hmm. You said how come I didn't tell you, right? That's what you said. How come you didn't tell me? So that right there, he said, I just told you. When did you know about this? When did you know about this?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I knew about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Maybe, why didn't you tell me then?
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about it then, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes, maybe as men, I don't know what it is. But this is something we got to work on. I definitely can say I have to work on it. I'm trying to figure that out. How can I do better at, like, even like, okay, say for instance, first of all, I can admit the fact, hey, I can tell you right now, I am bad at that. But what I can do to be better, I would love to share my calendar with you, because that's probably the easiest way that I can do.
That's what I was gonna say.
And that's one of the things I had to do, even in my workspace. Like, no one ever really knew what I had going on, so I was like, you know what? Here's my calendar.
Yeah.
This is the best way I can do, because I'm going to be a poor communicator. I'm telling right out if you're waiting for me to tell you.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on in my head. I just don't think that way. I don't work that way. So the best way I can do, here's my calendar. I would love to share my calendar with you. So what I'm saying is that
finding a resolution
in a better way to communicate, because communicating isn't always verbal.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I think sometimes we get into, well, you didn't tell me that. Well, if I got to text you that, if I got to email you, I got to find a way to do it so you know.
Yeah.
just so we can work on our relationship. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we have to find resolutions and not just be solely only married to a way that you want to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, because I remember one part of our marriage too, to where, oh my goodness, like that I just told you, and planning stuff without, knowing what we have going on and all that, whatever. So it was just like, what? So then what he started doing was, before he made out his schedule for the month or anything, or if somebody asked him, he will literally text and say, do we have anything planned for the month of whatever, right? And I really, really, did I ever tell you I appreciate that? Because I feel,
Yeah, see, sometimes we don't get the appreciation award at all.
no, but I really started to appreciate that, because I felt like that he was trying to find a resolution to the constantly planning stuff without knowing if I had already had something going on, or things like that. And majority of the time he knew, but he forget, right? Yeah. So I forgot all about that. Well, that's not my fault you forgot that, so now he write it down, like, what is it that we got scheduled? What do we have planned? Because now my daughter just asked me something the other about what your schedule looking like for August, and I pulled up August, and I'm just like, wow, because our schedule is always so busy. And I actually see in August, I was like, I got some free time in August.
There you go.
So, no. But no, honestly, though, I definitely appreciate that.
See there?
I tried.
Look there. We had some marriage counseling taking place right on set, right live with y'all right now.
Even you saying, well, because that's what I was going to say to you, possibly calendar sharing, and I think that will resolve a lot of those, that I'm telling you now, just,
I'm telling you now.
Pull up the calendar.
Exactly, and that's exactly. But that's what I said. Like, and I think too is but you have to do also. You have to check in. You have to check in, and just. I mean, I think we should. I think we as husband wives that we should do a check in. Hey, and when we say this, it's like, hey, babe, I'm just I'm checking in. Is there anything that we need to discuss that maybe it's on your mind, or is this. What can we do? This like maybe even schedule ahead. Let's have like Sundays. I could tell you probably Sunday's probably my best day for real.
Yeah.
At the end of the day where I could just that you can get me where I'm not as busy. I actually try to make Sundays where I'm not really doing much for real. Like so that's
I do know
the
that
best
about
day
you.
that we could say hey, what you got going on? Let's chat a bit, but don't take too much time because I want my Sundays to be free and I don't think about nothing. But
there you go. See, but no, Trey has started us doing I can't remember what that app was, Evergreen or something.
Yeah.
He had me download this app, and it was like a cute little app.
Like tidbits that you can do with your spouse. It's just little things that you can help out with, like even like little what do they call it, like little lovey notes that you guys can send, or send out like questionnaires that both of y'all can answer together, and it's just a talking piece.
Well, Gary Chapman put it like this, out of the 5 love languages. He says, how is your love tank today?
Yeah.
And I thought it was an easy way, because I was trying. If you notice, I was trying to find a way to say it, and I just remembered it. That's how he did it. Where he says, "How is your love tank? Are you like?" So we related to fuel, like how just like your gas tank. Are you on empty? Are you full? Are you half full? How's your love tank? Mm-hmm. Because I think it's important to talk about that. I don't think we talk about it enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think just like you're saying, like we were talking about before in the previous episodes, where someone to go to somebody else and say, well, he ain't doing this and she ain't doing that. Well, did you tell them that?
Yeah, they don't know.
So they don't. No one can do anything if you don't tell them. Yeah. Or you be like, well, I told them they ain't doing nothing. Okay, go back and do it again.
Tell them again.
Find another way to communicate that.
Yeah.
We get so lost in, again, only communicating verbally. Mm-hmm. We can communicate different ways.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, and this is some advice sometimes that I will give, the couples that we talk to. Sometimes communication should happen outside the house, right? Especially if you are the type of couple that feel like we can't never communicate effectively because it always turns into an argument. Well, you're probably not gonna argue in a restaurant. I don't think. I mean, it just depends on the couple, right? But honestly, you're not gonna act like you act at home, right? And so sometimes when certain conversations need to be held, do it in a restaurant environment to where and I mean like a white tablecloth, candlelit type restaurant, to where the conversation has to be mellow. you know, and you can really have a conversation that you probably couldn't necessarily have at home. And I even say sometimes if you can't communicate effectively in what you're trying to say, write a letter.
Yeah.
You know, and let that person hear you, because if you're reading a letter, you can't interrupt, right? And sometimes, a lot of times when the spouses are having a disagreement, they cut each other off because nobody's listening. But if you're reading a letter, you can't cut me off. You know,
All you can do is stop reading it.
right? And so there's different ways. You just have to find your way.
And
You have to
also,
find
I
your
would
way.
say, like, even in, like, if you're reading something, don't necessarily, what can I say? Like, put your emotions on the letter.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you can read
Yeah,
a
that's
letter
true.
and you can think that a person is, like,
Saying it,
yelling
yeah.
in a letter when they're not. They're just pouring out to you how they feel at the moment.
Yeah.
And you can't read something with the intentions of, like,
How you think they
Yeah.
saying it. Well, if you type it in all caps
I was
with a
just
whole
about to
bunch
say
of
that. Like, you put down, don't put it in all caps now, because I know exactly what you're saying. You put it in all caps, especially if it's all caps on one line, and then the other lines are like, you know, the regular.
and look, in all caps with exclamation.
Right.
and the
Then
dot,
you
dot,
yelling
dots
at me.
and the
Don't you ever
questions in the stars. Now, that's a different ball game.
makes you think.
Yeah. He's like, woo, you going off in a letter. You jump, but no, it's,
There was a phone call at that point. Nah,
but that was good. That was
was real
good.
good.
Don't read even text messages, you know. And sometimes we read text messages, emails. We always put our own emotions in there and think what the person saying. That's why I know you big on picking up the phone, you know.
I'm gonna pick up the phone after a while. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
talk to
so-
me. I'm like, tell me something. But sometimes, like you said, if I can't talk to you, then hey, you're right. I think you just have to find again. Everything doesn't have to be verbal.
Yeah, because I be going off on Derek in a text, you know, and he picks up the phone and calls.
What you say? Say this to my face. No.
No, but that's good. You know, it's like, because sometimes the text may come off. And even if you are sending a text message, one thing that you want to do is read the text before you send it and see how it sounds. See how you're coming off, because you know your tone.
Yeah.
And if you feel like that tone is a little bit disrespectful or a little bit rude, I'm gonna tell you, I do it often. Like, I probably delete texts like crazy before the real one gets sent, right? Because in that moment, your flesh is, and then your spirit man say, hello, you know, like, hey, what you doing? But you have to give your spirit permission to check you.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of us give our spirit permission to check that flesh, because that flesh is gonna have its way.
Right.
But the spirit can come and tell that flesh, now you chill. But we have to get that permission to chill.
Yeah. Gotta yield.
Yeah. This is this.
Oh, doggy.
This has been good.
Down, girl,
I
down.
really hope that people are really getting something from, or really have received something from this segment of this series that we've done so far, called Blurred Lines, Divorce in the Black. And if you're not sure why we call it this Blurred Lines, again, the blurred lines thing is because everyone is blending in what they think a marriage should be.
Yeah.
And it's causing people to see unclearly.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we really dedicated these 4 episodes to Divorce in the Black and what it means to restore a marriage and not look at just being divorced.
Yeah.
I just
Celebrating
think-
and highlighting.
I think
that.
we just let's stop celebrating that, and let's really get back to, number one, let's get back to purpose.
Yeah.
Like, number one, even if you're dating right now, let's make sure that you're dating with purpose.
Yes.
And then 2, before you jump into marriage with somebody, make sure that you're getting your real true marital counseling.
Yeah.
And not where it's just 2 days. You need if it's 5 weeks,
30 minutes.
15 weeks, you need a true person who understands what it means to peel back the layers so that you understand what it is that you're really entering into. And then also understanding, and y'all can jump in any time.
Yeah.
But also know that you're entering into a marriage as a covenant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not only with you, but it's a covenant between you and God.
Hey, that's what I was gonna say. Respect that covenant.
Yeah, you gotta respect the covenant, and then that's why I say, like, this. So this this series that we've been doing, and trust me, I guarantee it's not going to be the last time we talk about this because this is what we do. But it's to be honest, even this conversation has really made me hone in on some things that I'm gonna take back.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I'm gonna go back home to my wife and say, "Hey, how's your love tank? How can I effectively communicate to you?
Yeah.
Do you need therapy?" No. I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
No, but seriously. I truly think, I hope you guys are getting something out. Just again, drop in the comments. Let us know what you thought about this segment, and then just again, if there's if anybody need any advice, hey, drop it in the comments.
Drop it in them comments, because like we always say, that we're not the only ones, the only vessels that God is using. God is using some of you as well that are tuning in with us every first and third Thursday. So make sure that you're in those comments. And I know a lot of times that I think while we are live or when it's happening, comments are there, but then do they disappear afterwards?
I remember. I think they're still there now.
Oh, okay.
There. But,
all right.
But we appreciate any comments that you guys put on there, and
yes.
And also too, if you want to continue to support what we're doing here at Fruit Bearing Conversations, there are several ways that you can do that. The first way is definitely making sure that you like and subscribe to our channel. The other way you can do that, you can also
watch our films.
You can watch our films and share those. And then the other way to do that is that if you feel led to donate anything to Fruit Bearing Conversations, $ Fruit Bearing Conversations.
Fruit Bearing Studios.
I'm sorry. Correction. $ Fruit Bearing Studios. Feel free to do so, and we appreciate any amounts that you do, because it helps us continue on building this calling that we've been called to do.
Building this platform. Because even though we're sitting here and we are having these conversations, it is costing us to do this. So it is costing us to put these episodes out. And so, if you feel led to do so, feel free. $ Fruit Bearing Studios. We also have Zelle, Fruit Bearing Studios, email info@fruitbearingstudios.com.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to close out. I think this ends our season.
One.
This ends season 1. So we're looking forward to sharing with you guys our next, seasons and upcoming episodes of what we're going to talk about next. I don't know.
Yes, but tune in.
Tune in.
Now I'm gonna leave us out on a note real fast before I close out in prayer. Like, there's a story in the Bible about, like, our series was about brokenness. So there's a story in the Bible, and it's like one of my favorite stories in the Bible, about the potter and the clay. Like, I think that story is so amazing once you sit down and really unpack it, because it gives a great analogy, I think, of the way God deals with us as human beings. Like, God is the potter, and we are the clay in the potter's hands. So we have to be willing to allow the potter to shape us and mold us the way that he wants to. But also in that analogy, it just talks about, like, it gives you a perspective on the job of a potter, the way that he makes the clay to turn it into something beautiful. So in that, what I'm saying is, like, God is the potter, and he has this clay, and he's putting you on a wheel. But when he puts you on that wheel, he's pressing down, spinning it, so he can shape the clay the way he wants to. Now, if something happens, the way that clay doesn't turn out right, they'll roll that clay up over again. Boom, he has to re-put you back on that wheel, and he has to reshape you and mold you the way that he wants to. And the only way that clay is going to come out the way that it needs to come out into something beautiful, God has to put you in the fire. And once he puts you in the fire, and we don't know what that fire is going to look like, only you and God is going to know what that fire looks like. But God is only putting you in that fire to refine you, to burn the impurities off of you, to make you better. So what I'm saying is, allow God to be the potter in your life and let him shape you,
Yes.
mold you, correct you, shape, refine you, let God do what he wants to do in your life.
Amen.
And when you give God that permission, I guarantee you'll start seeing changes and a difference in your life. So
Amen.
on that note, we'll close out. Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything that you have done, everything that you will continue to do. God, we do not take these conversations for granted, God, but we pray, Father, that something that we say and something in our conversations, Father, with Fruit Bearing Conversations, Father, will just be a blessing to someone else, God. You have created each and every person, Father, to be a light, Father, in a dark world, Father. So we just pray that these conversations will be just that. So we never take what we do for granted, Father, but we give you all praise, all glory, and all honor. You be glorified, Father, in everything that is said and everything that is done. Even shape us, correct us, and mold us as we help shape and correct and mold other people, Father God. We are the first partakers of your word, so allow us to be better. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 And that's it for Fruit Bearing Conversations. And always remember to follow us
As we follow Christ. Peace. Season one has come to an end. Season one has come to an end. Now we
Good
get
night.
to go eat. Ooh, 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 ooh.